Was great because it only had a few I'll just start again. What is up, everyone? Mark here, and welcome to another Prepared Pantry Presents. Today, we're going to take another shot at ice cream. So, one of my more popular videos up until now, from a couple of months ago, was ice cream that you can make with no machine. Now, that was great because you didn't need a machine, and it only had a few ingredients, but it was a little cumbersome because of the bowl of salt and ice and multiple cycles of freezing and mixing things. So I wanted to try something a little bit different. So this is actually an even simpler recipe for ice cream that you can make in the blender. It takes less time to freeze. You can make it and enjoy it in the same day, which is actually what I plan to do today. I'm making it earlier in the day so that we can have it for dessert after dinner. Also wanted to do something a little different in making this fruit ice cream instead. So we're going to make a strawberry swirl ice cream instead. Last time we made mint chocolate chip. Again, you can check that video out if you haven't already. Before we get started, I want to thank you all again so much for your support of the channel and the videos so far. Please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Click the red button down below or the watermark in the corner of the video. When you do, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, so this is another super simple recipe for ice cream to throw together. Again, made even more simple by the fact that we don't have to use a bunch of contraptions with ice. We're just going to do everything in the blender and then freeze it, and that's it. I want to talk a little bit about what we're freezing in. It's best if you can freeze this in like a loaf pan sized container, or 8x8 baking dish if you don't have something this size, and use metal if you can. Using metal will help get the heat out of the ice cream and get it frozen faster. Often when we think about things freezing, we think about the cold coming in and making them cold, but really what we're doing is we're taking the heat away to the rest of the environment of the inside of the freezer. So if we start with something that's metal, that's kind of like a radiator, and we start with it cold in the freezer to begin with, I've had this chilling in there for a little while, then we give it a little bit of an advantage to getting a jump start on cooling and helping the heat move out of the ice cream. Should take only about 6 hours to freeze, so that's a big improvement over the multiple steps we had in the last recipe. This is, as I said, it's an ice cream that we can make today and enjoy today as well. So our ingredients are 2 cups of heavy cream, 1 cup of sweetened condensed milk, 1/4 cup of corn syrup. This is a different type of sugar, and its presence in this will not only as a sweetener, it will help prevent the formation of large jagged ice crystals. It'll kind of keep it smooth, help keep it nice and smooth. Got 1/3 cup of whole milk, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, in particular because this is a fruit ice cream that we're making. Not that it has to be in order for you to include lemon juice. Lemon juice just cuts down a little bit on the sweetness, adds a little bit of a tart note to the ice cream that accompanies fruit really well. We've got 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And lastly, we have 1/3 cup of strawberry preserves, good strawberry preserves. I would definitely recommend using preserves versus jelly. Maybe something that's labeled a fruit spread would work, but again, I would stick with something that's chunky and got whole fruit in it, and more of a consistency like this versus the jello-y consistency of plain jelly. We're also going to be adding fresh fruit to this today, and that is completely optional. All I did was take about 1/2 cup of fresh strawberries diced, or diced up some strawberries, got about 1/2 cup, give or take, and chopped those up really finely, sprinkled them with a couple of tablespoons of sugar and mixed it up a little bit, and then just let it sit for a little while. And the sugar kind of macerates together with the strawberries. It pulls a lot of the liquid out, and we wanted to separate the liquid from the pulp. So I drained the liquid separately and strained as carefully as I could without pushing the pulp through the mesh of the strainer. Just to get the pulp separated from the liquid, we're going to use those two separately in the recipe. We're going to add the liquid in the mixing of the mix phase, and we're going to add the pulp as though it were a mix-in at the end when we add the jelly. All right, so I'm going to toss this back in the refrigerator or in the freezer for a few minutes until we're ready for it, and we'll come back and get started. Okay, so we do want to start with ingredients that are as cold as possible. The cream, the milk, and the condensed milk, even the preserves, were in the refrigerator as long as possible before we were ready to start, and then I brought them out here. So the first thing we're going to do is add the cream to our blender. And the timing and the settings on the blender are really going to depend on your blender. The blender I'm using here is, it's a mid-range, good quality blender. It happens to be, the blend speed, mid-speed for me, and it should take about 20-30 seconds. And what we want to do here is just basically whip this. We want to whip it into whipped cream. Kind of soft peaks. We don't want to necessarily bring it all the way to stiff peaks. We can check it after about 20-30 seconds, and we'll see how it is. Let's see. And give it another 10 or 15 seconds. Okay. And that is about the consistency we want, soft whipped cream. I'm just going to kind of make sure the sides are scraped down a little bit, and we are going to basically just add the rest of our liquid ingredients here. So the sweetened condensed milk goes in. The corn syrup. The whole milk. The sugar, the lemon juice, the salt, and the vanilla. Now, if you were making ice cream like we made the last time in the last video, we did a mint chocolate chip. You could use mint extract and just use chocolate chips for your mix-in. Would be kind of the same thing. Again, we're going in a different direction because we're doing a fruit this time. We're going to add at this stage I guess we'll call this the strawberry water. It's the liquid that came off of the strawberry pulp. And this is not only going to add that strawberry flavor to our mix, but it's also hopefully going to give a little bit of a pink color to it, so it's not just stark white. Now, there's also benefit to the fact that we kind of macerated this together with sugar. That will help lower the freezing temperature of the liquid in the strawberries so that it doesn't necessarily form sharp ice crystals. So even the pulp, it's still got liquid in there. It's not fully dry. It should not freeze into little rock solid pebbles. And again, we're going to try and disperse that as best we can throughout the ice cream. Similar here, the liquid from the strawberries that we just added is highly sugared, so it should not cause any problems with ice crystals either. So we are going to just mix this gently with the rubber spatula. Get things combined. And the whole idea here is that because we started with whipped cream, that's where the ice cream is getting its volume from, where it's getting its softness. Sort of the same kind of thing. You'd incorporate air in the process of churning if you were churning in a traditional way, or even the way that we did in the first video where we just used the beaters to to mix the ice cream over the bowl of ice while it was freezing. Okay, we're gonna put this back on for another 5-10 seconds just to get everything mixed together. Make sure that it's really well combined. Okay. Now I'm gonna go grab the container out of the freezer and we'll pour. Okay. Now this should make roughly a quart, give or take, a finished ice cream. It's going to depend on what you've included for mix-ins and that sort of thing. Generally, you'll get about a quart, plus or minus. And as liquidy as this is, it's very light because it's got an awful lot of air sort of fluffed into it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get our strawberry pulp mixed in here. just going to mix that around with the tines of a fork, just to make sure that it's all kind of swirled throughout. I don't want to push down too much, kind of use a lifting action just to keep it from all sinking to the bottom. And then we're going to do the same with our preserves. We're going to just dollop these out throughout the surface and then mix them up to make a strawberry swirl with the fork. Okay, we're just going to cover this with plastic wrap and press it down into the surface of the ice cream. This just helps prevent any ice crystals from forming on the surface as it freezes. So again, we want a nice smooth ice cream free of ice crystals. Now this is going to go into the freezer for about 6 hours. That's all it should take. Again, if you're using this size of a container or maybe the 8x8 baking pan, those should be fine. If you use a taller, a taller container with more depth, it might take a little bit longer because you're trying to freeze to that core. So we'll bring this to the freezer, we'll let it go for about 6 hours, and we'll come back and I think we'll be ready to taste. Okay, we waited patiently all day, or all afternoon at least, and had dinner, and now it is time for dessert. And I also figured what goes better with homemade strawberry swirl ice cream than Greg's chocolate layer cake. If you're not local from Rhode Island and you don't know about Greg's chocolate layer cake, I'll put a link down in the description, but I don't think they ship it or anything. It's just really good. All right, so let's get some of this into... Oh, look at that. Okay, now what I have here is a little bit of whipped cream that has a little bit of chocolate syrup whipped into it, so it's cocoa or chocolate whipped cream, because why not? You know what, let's throw a little bit of that on the cake too. Again, because why not? And throw a couple of strawberry slices on there for garnish, make it look all pretty. Let's give this a try. Frozen, but the fruit is still soft. It's so creamy. Some nice strawberry flavor through the whole thing, but that ribbon of jam really makes a difference. And even the fresh strawberries didn't freeze solid, like I said. Of course, I know the Greg's chocolate layer cake is good. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I hope you'll give this recipe a shot, especially if you didn't try the other one. This one is so easy. And this is absolutely, absolutely delicious. Definitely gonna be having some more here. That wraps it up for another video. We'll see you in the next one.